All these characters came for one truth, but we came for one truth and one truth only. And the truth is, it is possible to beat Persona 4 Golden without taking damage.
They're asking for an encore!
Hello everybody, Nitsa here, back for some more pain while actively avoiding pain. And yes, you're seeing the title of this video correct. This is part 4 to my 3-part damageless run of Persona 4 Golden. The run where we go through the entire game without using a drop of peroxide, as a certain detective may notice that something is out of place while we discreetly be vigilantes and catch ourselves a killer. Now, you might be wondering, why are we back here 3 years later? Haven't I already completed the run? And the answer is, yes, I completed the game. I beat all 9 dungeons, got the true golden ending, beat all 6 optional boss fights at the end of the first 6 dungeons, and even kicked the Reaper to death. And while I'm very happy with this challenge run, even back then, I always felt that it was incomplete. So, that's what part 4 is, completing even more of Persona 4 Golden without taking damage on New Game Plus. Plus, I kinda wanted an excuse to play this game again. If you haven't watched the first 3 parts of the Persona 4 Golden Damageless Challenge run, I highly recommend checking those videos out first. And if you haven't played through Persona 4 before, fair warning as there will be high spoilers of the entire game in this video. So if you spoil to yourself that Nanako is the killer, it's your fault for spoiling yourself. Now for this New Game Plus run, we simply have 3 objectives. Max out the remaining social links we didn't max out in our initial playthrough and 100% the Persona compendium. Do every single mandatory and optional boss fight while both enemies and I do the least amount of damage, since the initial run we allowed everyone to do a great amount of damage. But this run is truly complete if we defeat Margaret damageless. Thankfully, outside of party members, Margaret and Marie, who we all must max out, we do not need to max out the other social links we already maxed out in the first playthrough, as social link items given at the end of their 10th rank carry over to New Game Plus, allowing us to fuse their ultimate personas of their respective arcanas anytime. So for the New Game Plus run, since we have most of the skill cards we need registered to the Velvet Room and all of our social stats maxed out, we can primarily focus on maxing out the social links we neglected to max out. We will still need to do movie theater trips and bike trips in order to get the best skills and the extra stats needed to make this run possible, but we should have enough time slots to max out all the social links we did not max out. Now, as for the fight against Margaret, she was the only boss fight that I was unable to do in my original run because she is a New Game Plus exclusive boss fight. In fact, she's the main reason why this video even exists in the first place. In order to unlock her, we must be playing on New Game Plus, have her social link maxed, and beat in all 6 optional boss fights before the final 2 dungeons, and after we get the Orbicite from Igor on March 20th, we have to immediately re-enter the Velvet Room before talking to the gas station attendant to unlock her boss fight at the end of the Heaven dungeon. So, there you go, 3 new rules, New Game Plus run, and now we have a new truth to seek. Can you beat Persona 4 Golden without taking damage while maxing out the Persona compendium in only 2 playthroughs, beating Margaret damageless, and doing everything with the least amount of damage? Well, let's find out. This run will be one whole video, so I will be given only the highlights of the run, such as boss fights and a few additional benefits that I didn't take in the original run. If you want a run that talks about the story of Persona 4, watch the first 3 parts. With all that said, let's get this run almost started. While I have beaten Izanami, I kept a backup save before fighting her for one particular reason. That reason being the possibility I might do a New Game Plus run. Back when I was going through the final dungeon, I intended on getting better equipment for my party since any equipment forged at the metal workshop will carry over to New Game Plus, and I was meaning to grind for some equipment in my original run. But after accidentally hitting myself with an electric item, I chose to abandon that as I didn't want to waste any more time when I already wasted time due to me not paying attention. But since I'm fully committed to a New Game Plus playthrough, we're gonna grind out the materials we need to get the best equipment from Yamatsu Harasaka. Here's the following materials that I had to grind for to get the best possible equipment, though mind you it's only melee weapons, and while we may not use all of them, having more options with equipment may help us in our New Game Plus run. For the grind, I was able to get the materials from floors 8 and 3, and just like before, we exploit the weaknesses by throwing elemental items at a fixed 50 damage while taking a chance with follow-up attacks to down enemies who lack a weakness. I spent a lot of money on these items, so they definitely need to be used. However, there are 2 pieces of equipment that came from 2 extremely rare shadows to spawn, and I had to grind 10 materials from each of them. But since I'm not all at attacking most boss fights, I think I could skip out on these 2 pieces of weapons. The other thing I have to grind for, however, is the Ameno-sagiri, the best evasion armor for males from the Void Quest, but only on a rainy day. If you remember from part 3, I mentioned that we need to grind for Rain Steel after defeating the Rain and Musha. However, the site I was using was saying that I only needed 1 thing of Rain Steel, yet despite selling 3 of these, I could not get the armor forged. However, that information is correct if you're playing vanilla Persona 4. In Golden, you have to sell 4 Rain Steels, so I was literally 1 off from getting this armor. With this armor, all males will have an evasion rate of 40 plus 10 points to their agility stat. As for the female equivalent of evasion armor, we already got that in the original run from simply fighting a few random encounters in the steamy bathhouse. Now, while we can get better weapons for you and a useful piece of armor to give us 100 SP from locked chests, the problem is that any equipment we gain does not carry over to New Game Plus. The only thing that does carry over is whatever equipment we forge at the Metal Workshop, so anything we can't buy from the Metalworks, we have to obtain again on a New Game Plus file. It sucks, but hey, kudos to Atlas for not making New Game Plus broken. With all materials sold, new equipment forged, elemental items and HP items sold, and all possible skill cards registered, we take the fight to Izanami once again. Since I already proved her possible in part 3 of the damageless run, I'm gonna fast forward to when we make ourselves a saved clear data. Just like last time, we allow ourselves to gain the most amount of EXP and money to reduce the amount of grinding needed, especially since all party members start with their initial starting levels, including you, who starts at level 1. And since Kent has graduated from man to Superman who can kill a god without taking damage, his full name now will be evolved into UL. After Yosuke says no to a Shadow for knocking bottles off the counter, we are forced into a solo fight against Shadow Yosuke where the first hit is force damage. Now, if you saw in the original run, then you know that this is the #1 fight where we unfortunately had to allow damage. While I'm sure the first attack is always scripted to hit, you need to get hit at least 3 times if you're doing the most amount of damage. But the third hit was during a guard to protect you from getting hit twice, but theoretically, any attacks after the first can be evaded. We just have a low chance of doing so because even on a New Game Plus run, we don't have access to the Persona Compendium or the Metal Workshop to get better evasion, and Izanagi lacks any hit or evade support skills, so we pretty much have the same chances on a New Game Plus run as we do on a New Game File. And when everyone is doing a small amount of damage, we have to get hit 6 times. And out of those times, I only evaded 1 attack and I had to guard through 2 wind attacks. So literally 2 times the amount with small damage compared to if we were to do it with a great amount of damage. Theoretically, this fight might be possible if you're doing a great amount of damage, but unless we get the whole Persona fanbase on this to see who can dodge the first 2 attacks, or heck, even the first attack, we're gonna continue to ignore this fight for now. On April 17th, we can finally buy stuff from the Metalworks shop. We get the best evasion armor for you and Yosuke, an accessory to give them an extra 5 points in all their stats, the best attack and weapon for you, and a weapon to up Yosuke's stats by 3. We then pay a trip to the Velvet Room, get kicked out, but we could just go back in and... wait. No. God damn it, you have every reason to be in there. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door. Open the fuck! So, unfortunately, if you're hoping to one-shot Shadow Chie, sadly, we have to grind. Now, in the original run, it took 2.5 hours of grinding on the first floor, and this is while we set the difficulty to allow us to do a great amount of damage, while also using the retry in dungeons, as this is the only instance where you cannot save during the grind. Now, thankfully, with the extra stats and better weapons, we will definitely be given a huge advantage and reduce the amount of grinding needed while we do a small amount of damage. Though, by how much? Well, thankfully we can just one-shot every enemy encounter by rushing them to death without even having to use magic. And it doesn't take long to get Angel, our main persona with Garu, so we can exploit Shadow Chie's main weakness. So I grind for about 13 minutes and attempt to fight against Shadow Chie. And the plan this time was to maybe dodge her attack instead of overgrinding to one-hit kill her, since both Angel and Yosuke are able to learn Tsukukaja as a skill. And after hitting her with Garu, I fucked up on my second attempt by accidentally pressing the Y button to rush, thinking I was going to summon my persona. Thank you, Modern Atlas Games! And so we get hit. And when it comes to dying, it took 13 minutes just to die while she does a great amount of damage. Sadly, the extra stats in our endurance and agility is our downfall in retrying. So I grinded for another 13 minutes, and this time went in with the dodge strategy in mind. So I led off by using a Garu on Shadow Chie, skipping the all-out attack and using Tsukukaja to buff both Yosuke and Yu. And when she goes for Mizuo, we both dodged the attack. I then just Garu, all-out attack, Garu, all-out attack, and of course she puts up the green wall, so now wind attacks will only resist for the first 3 turns. But since we have stronger than usual weapons, we just basic attack despite her resistant physical. And when she casts Mabufu, we dodge that too. God, those dodges are so satisfying. And then 2 more basic attacks were enough to finish Shadow Chie off. I gotta say, thank God I grinded for that evasion armor for males, because that likely saved the need to grind for this boss fight alone.
Chie-chan, you're hurt! Get some help!
No, she's not, Teddy. She's just overworked from watching you do everything. Now, I will be skipping most of my explanation for most of the dungeons, or otherwise this video will be longer than it needs to be. So, let's discuss the more important stuff. When it comes to social...
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jose, I am the Egg Paladin, and I'm here to co-commentate for Yu-Gi-Oh's castle like last time. So you can kill Gold Hands by throwing 3 items at it. The Avenger Knight is weak to fire, Yu-Gi-Oh is weak to ice unless you're playing the vanilla version which sucks ass outside of the cool ass fog effects. Oh, and did you know all boss fights nullify light and dark? And also...
sorry about that, guys. I accidentally opened up my cameo door way too soon. When it comes to social links, we start the social link with Daisuke. Only makes sense that we do the other sport in the New Game Plus run. However, we're only going to rank him up to 4 in order to unlock the Moon social link with Sharpay Evans. And when we do the hospital janitor job, we need to rank the nurse up 4 ranks to unlock the old lady of the Death social link. Once the Strength and Devil social links reach 4, we will realize that soccer and janitorial work sucks ass, and we will abandon these social links with no regrets. Thanks to doing a damageless run of this game previously, I now have an idea of which party member social links we should prioritize the most. We prioritize Yosuke first, since he's useful in almost every dungeon prior to Envious Giant. Yukiko will be second after Yosuke is maxed, since she is the best magic damage dealer and the only one outside of you who can reach level 99 magic. Rise will be top priority the moment she becomes available, though by then Yosuke and Yukiko should be maxed. Naoto will be prioritized second after Rise when she's available, Chie, as she's mostly useful for the last 2 dungeons of the game, and Kanji, once again, is our least prioritized party member, but we will still max him out just in case. During nighttime, I take advantage of either making boxed lunches, spending time with my friends at night, or raising their ranks through the shrine if, for whatever reason, I need to deepen my bond with them without wasting a daytime slot deepen my bond with them. Seriously, this is like my least favorite mechanic of every Persona game that, thank God, Metaphor ReFantazio did better, as you can rank up your followers with every interaction. Though I guess deepening your bonds with your social links fits more to Persona's themes, so I guess complaining about it is more contradictory than anything. And if you are wondering why I'm intentionally skipping out on the other social links I maxed out in my original run, that's because I need to give myself time to take my party members to the movie theater once a month for the extra 3 stat increases, and more than half of them need to go on 5 bike ride trips to get a much needed skill to make the run more efficient. Now, I think this is all straightforward. I will only braid out the social links when I start bonding with them, and when I eventually max them out going forth. So anyway, we get Daisuke's social link up to rank 4 on April 26th to see Paris Hilton. We start Marie's first rank on April 27th, start Dojima's social link of the Hierophant on May 8th, who we need to max out before November, start Veruca Salt's social link on May 13th, where she starts off unlikable, but unlike Persona 3's Moon social link where Nezumi becomes unlikable all the way through, this Sweet 16 candidate thankfully does get better and has a pretty insightful story that, while cliched, is probably one of the best social link stories that fits Persona 4's main themes. On the same day, we also start Adachi of the Jester, who's a social link we must rank up to 6 before November. While doing the dungeons, I still go out of my way to complete the quest because, while you could argue that it's worthless, it may be useful in this run if we gain full SP recovery items, or items that could do AoE buffs without using SP, as we may need them for the fight against Margaret. And I want to be overly prepared as much as possible. Plus, doing these quests will at least make the grinding feel more fulfilled and less repetitive. Obviously, we won't complete every single quest, particularly the ones with Kashiwagi that only provide extra clothing with no beneficial purposes, but a quest we do now is a run saver that could happen later. Kanji disagrees with his Shadow that bottom main is better than top main, and we go into the fight against Shadow Kanji with you only. Out of all the main boss fights in the game, Shadow Kanji is the only one that doesn't have an almighty skill. So I take a repel physical persona with a null or drain to electricity, and I can do the fight without worrying about taking damage. While I am safe from all attacks, Forbidden Murmur will poison me if I don't guard that turn, so I did have to use a few items to get rid of poison as I lacked a null poison skill. Otherwise, a very easy boss fight to do damageless solo if you have you protected from physical and electric attacks. May 28th, I max out Yosuke's social link, which means Yukiko is now my priority to max out next. I start Irie's social link of the Temperance, and honestly, she's probably the #1 social link that I forget is even in this game. You think that she would be useful for allowing you to gain points in your understanding and gain money, but I always prioritize my other social links before I even realize that I forgot about her. But I will need to max her out in this run in order to complete the challenge of 100% in the Persona compendium. If I legit have nothing to do on rainy days, I usually pass my time by either going fishing, as fish are necessary for a couple of quests later on, and fishing for the inaba trout is extremely important to get an optional weapon for Naoto that I neglected to get in my original run. You can get the inaba trout by either purchasing it from the home shopping program on these days, or using the locusts or crickets to fish for them. We could take the inaba trout to the Lady in White at night, where she can give us the Masudo stone. This is one of the gems that is impossible to obtain in the TV world itself, and we need at least 2 of these by the time we get Naoto in our party. More on this later when I reach the secret laboratory dungeon. June 9th, I quit my janitorial job and started riding my bike around the neighborhood on June 10th, 11th, and unlock in Okina City June 12th. Since Yukiko was unavailable to hang out in the same town we live in, I called her over to the city of all places to watch a movie instead. Now, for the most part, we should hopefully not need to use Chagall Cafe anymore, since we have most of the skill cards we need from the original run, and any cards that we don't have, hopefully we can get them through Shovel Time. but we will need to take our priority party members to see a movie every month to increase their stats. On June 20th, I max out Yukiko, and just in time before the third dungeon starts kicking in, which may make the Shadow Rise and Shadow Teddy fight easier to do damageless. And while the RNG manipulation trick for golden hands from the original run doesn't seem to work since the game has been updated since the multi-plat release, a leprechaun must have been pissing in my coffee because I was still getting a lot of golden hands to spawn, even without even needing to intentionally reset. So thankfully the grind was not so bad. It was still a lot, but not so bad. After getting 6 magic mirrors and the amp skills on both Yosuke and Yukiko, I easily breezed through both the Shadow Rise and Shadow Teddy fight, even when doing a small amount of damage. This time being able to use Surd at a magic stat of 99, Debilitate from Trumpeter, and an Assault Signal to buff attack during the first turn Teddy charges in the old hand to guarantee we do the most amount of damage. Now, usually Teddy would go for an undodgeable attack called Nullity Guidance after we do 50% of damage to his overall health. However, if he is Mind Charge prior to using an Ultra Charge, he will not use Nullity Guidance till after he uses the Mind Charge on Bufadine. And thankfully, maxing out Yukiko's Social Link comes in clutch as she evades the ice attack, and we finish him off in almost a similar fashion to the original run, except more efficiently. On June 26th, we start the Death Social Link. On June 29th, we start Kanji's Social Link, and later that night max out Dojima's Social Link, while feeling guilty for neglecting Nanako's Social Link. And a little bit into July, I max out Margaret's Social Link, which is one of the requirements to do our optional boss fight. And thankfully, it was easy to max her out as I had most of the personas already registered with the skill I needed from my initial playthrough. Though I did have to refuse Gadon with Rampage for rank 4, since I got rid of the skill like an idiot. On the 24th of July, I get Adachi to rank 6, which means the rest of his social link will be automatic, as long as I choose specific options to reach his max rank. Now, there's really not too much to say about the Void Quest, though I did have to overgrind so Teddy and Rise learn all their skills, and despite beating Shadow Mitsuo first try in the original run, it took 4 attempts here due to our low amount of damage. I managed to win thanks to a Makari card, Magic Mirror, and Yosuke dodging twice despite being Takaja by Mitsuo. In the real world, I am given the option to help Nanako with her homework, which I refused to do in the original run since it took time away from other priorities that I needed to do at night. But this time, being the big brother that we are, we still say no because a true sibling has no time for first grader nonsense when deepening my bonds at night is much more important. And once we unlock bike trips, we will once again prioritize getting the 5th skill for Yukiko and Naoto to get Mind Charge and Angelic Grace. And while Rise's all-out attack power will be great too, I will have her as a low priority since I don't think we can all-out attack Margaret or most boss fights to begin with. However, I will do 2 other characters' bike trips for the New Game Plus run. Teddy for the evade physical skill to make the Ameno-sagiri fight easier, and Chie to get her Bufadine skill since she proved to be a reliable party member in the last 2 dungeons of the game after she gets her Dragon Hustle skill. However, I will include one more skill for Naoto in the final skill set, and that skill will be Bufadine. Why Bufadine? You'll see in just a sec. So we do the secret laboratory dungeon, getting level 99 on Yu, Yosuke, Yukiko, and Teddy, while getting some levels on Chie and Kanji too. The escapist soldier at the end of the Void Quest only got to attack once, which my party all evades. And once we reach floor 5 and 6 of the secret laboratory, we now need to grind for something crucial in this run: 5 rose quartz. There's 4 or 6 different enemies who drop this kind of item in the secret laboratory and can mostly be found on either floor 5, 6, or both. Whatever you do, make sure you get 5 rose quartz from these enemies, as this will be a necessity to get the frost shot from the pub, which is a weapon that gives Naoto the ice boost passive. This is the reason why you need to get the 2 Masuda stones from the Lady in White, as I mentioned earlier, as the frost shot is what will hopefully give Naoto the extra damage we need to make Margaret possible, as Naoto's first bike trip skill will be Bufadine. As for the fight against Shadow Naoto herself, instead of 2 turning her like in the original run, it took 4 turns and thankfully 1 attempt to beat her damageless. Turn 1, Yukiko dodges a Brave Blade. Turn 2, Teddy dodges Zeodyne despite not having the Evade Elect skill yet. And Yukiko's Evade Ice skill kicks in 3rd turn as we wail in all the damage we can with level 99 Persona users. September 19th, I max out Chie. September 23rd, I max out Rise. Shortly after Naoto joins the investigation team, we now get the Frost Shot from the pub at night, giving her the only elemental boost passive she can get for her skill set. And because you guys would kill me if I did otherwise, I maxed out Nanako's Social Link, which I didn't have to do since I maxed her out in the initial run, but it felt wrong to do Dojima's Social Link and not hers completely. Later on, we start Naoto's Social Link, and we can do her first bike ride trip on Halloween Day after telling Yosuke to screw off. Yeah, if you turn down Yosuke's request to help him at Junes, you can do Naoto's first bike ride trip on October 31st, which is a day that is not listed on many guides, and was even the reason why it seemed like I learned Angelic Grace on her 4th bike ride trip in my initial playthrough, when I actually did her first trip on Halloween. I have since then posted this correction as a pinned comment for part 3 of my run. Huge shout out to Ragnar Alvar Gaiman for indirectly helping me with this correction.
You're welcome, Nitsa. All I can say is good luck against Ameno-sagiri.
Oh god, you really had to remind me of that fight. Oh boy, I guess I gotta do that eventually, huh?
I got 15 hours of footage from failed attempts. Let's see if you can beat that.
I got the 50 hours of visit to test.
Well, you know what? I am totally gonna beat you. Oh, fuck. I dropped my coffee. I spilled my coffee all over my goddamn desk. God damn it. Okay, afterwards, Nanako decided to take a trip with a stranger, and we go kick ass in the Heaven Dungeon, maxing out every single party member, including Naoto. I also kept dropping money from my wallet for whatever reason, so I fused a good majority of the personas I had left to fuse, but I still need to max out a few social links in order to max out the entire compendium. Now in the initial run, I defeated Kunino-sagiri with party members that at least had their second awakening personas to nullify one affinity, as Kunino attacks mainly with elemental attacks. And while he does come with almighty attacks, I decided to fight him with a new strategy by going in with you only. I guess you can say he ran ahead and really wants Nanako back. Too bad she's asleep through the whole thing and missing out on her big bro kicking ass. Though, thankfully she was asleep for the first attempt because I lost 2/3 through the fight as I had an electric break on me, negating any repel affinities. The second attempt, I have Trumpeter equipped who drains 3 affinities and repels electric. Mind Charge turn 1 and slowly rush Kunino down till he was barely above 50% HP. Here, we debilitate twice to give us lots of turns with him fully debuffed. Once Kunino goes for Quad Converge, a random element will do a lot of damage while the other 3 do very little. So I use a Makaricorn to reflect fire back at him. Knowing the element, I use a long prep Mind Charge Ragnarok on him with an attack buff thanks to Rise. But since Kunino can break element affinities, I do have to play defensively. After another Quad Converge, which ends up being Wind as the chosen element, I give Odin time to shine as he uses the only severe wind damaging move in the game to end the fight. Definitely glad this New Game Plus run is showing promise for different strategies. November 7th, we get Teddy's 5th bike ride skill, Evade Physical. November 22nd, we max out Naoto. December 3rd, Nanako takes a trip up to see her mom, and we decide to cancel culture the heck out of Namatame. But after realizing we're better than the average Twitter user, we spare Namatame and find someone else to cancel instead. And since the killer is so bad at hiding the fact that he's the killer by posting that he is on Google for some reason, we suspect that Adachi is the killer. But what if I chose not to tell my friends about him? Yeah, if you progress Adachi's rank to 6 before November, it's possible to protect Adachi and refuse to suggest him as the killer. And not just that, but on the final day before leaving Inaba, you can confront Adachi in person and tell him that you know he's the killer and you have no intention of turning him in. And to prove your trust to him, you straight up burn the warning letter right in front of him, to which he will laugh maniacally and threaten you to answer your phone whenever he calls you. This will max out the Jester social link before you head home, and you can leave knowing that you betrayed your friends and everyone you loved for for the sake of your friendship with Adachi. They even went out of their way to animate a scene of you on the train and Adachi walking through the fog, showing the consequences of your actions. This is known as the accomplice ending, and while this ending is unique and exclusive to the golden version of Persona 4, my god is it one of the worst and most out-of-character endings ever in the Persona series. At least the endings with you believing Namatame is the killer makes sense, but you betraying everyone to become the killer's accomplice, despite his actions saving people and Adachi being responsible for everything that has happened, including having Namatame nearly kill Nanako and Dojima, this is the most out-of-character ending ever, and I would love to see you defenders defend the scene as something that you would actually do. It's a unique ending for sure, but a really terrible one. So, ignoring that parallel universe, we of course confront Adachi and conclude that he is the killer. And while you could max out his social link via the accomplice ending, in order to progress Adachi's social link on the true ending route, when the game prompts you to see him alone on December 7th, make sure you say yes. Confronting him solo will evolve the social link from the Jester to the Hunger social link, and as long as you go on the true ending route to the Yamatsu Harasaka dungeon, you will be able to max him out. Now that we have a killer to kill, we let the killer starve to death till the 22nd of December as we bond with social links. Although, the only social link I actually do max out is Marie, who I'm required to max out anyway for the Hollow Forest dungeon, but I do get pretty darn close with maxing out the others. And the only noteworthy thing is that I do get 2 pieces of equipment from the pub at night that can raise Chie's stats by 2 points and raise Yukiko's stats by 3 points. The entire time, I've been using a weapon that gave Yukiko 10 points to her magic stat, but if I equip this weapon instead, this will give her 3 points to all of her stats, and her magic stat will still be at 99, as long as I keep the RU Brace accessory equipped. Who knows, those extra 3 points in agility stats could go a long way if you know what's coming up next. Speaking of long way, I finally do the Magatsu Inaba and Mandala dungeon on the 22nd. And when it came to replaying this challenge run again, this was the #1 dungeon that I was dreading to do the most. For those who need a recap, we took a total of 87 hits in total in trying to complete the run initially, and 45 of those hits all came from this dungeon. That's 51% of the amount of hits I took within Magatsu Inaba, and it definitely feels like more than half, with 28 failed attempts against Envious Giant and 17 failed attempts against Ameno-sagiri, and that is when we were doing a great amount of damage. But here, for the New Game Plus run, we are somehow expected to beat these guys with a small amount of damage, so how the heck is that going to be possible? Well, this is the primary reason I got better equipment in the initial run before starting my New Game Plus run, so the boys have a higher evasion chance, a better weapon for Yukiko to give her a few extra stats in luck and agility while still keeping her magic stat at 99, and got the frost shot for Naoto so we could do more damage with Bufadine over Agidine. Though that means I had to neglect the use of the Algernon, which was so useful in the original run for boosting all of her stats by 5, so unfortunately we will be 5 stats shorter with her, decreasing our chances of dodging. I also got the evade physical skill for Teddy since Ameno-sagiri can attack with physical attacks. I also kept the ice break on Teddy while getting rid of his AoE ice magic skill since the boss fights from here on out are all solo enemies. With Ice Break on Teddy, I can negate Envious Giant's resistance to ice and go out with ice damage with Teddy and Naoto, while Yukiko can use Fire Break to negate the fire resistance on Envious Giant so you and Yukiko can go all out with fire damage. And since I have been able to nearly max out most of my stats on Trumpeter, Cert, and Loki's agility with Shovel Time cards, I can equip Loki before entering the fight as Envious Giant always goes first. And the first attack is sometimes a Megidolion. With Loki having Ollie Dance, which can only be learned from the Ultimate Chariot persona, Loki has the highest chances of dodging Almighty moves with just you alone, hopefully decreasing the amount of reattempts. Will this plan work out? Let's find out. First things first, we complete the quest we have and the final optional boss fight at the end of the Heaven dungeon so we can get the Chakra Rain and fulfill one of the requirements to face up against Margaret. The Chaos Fuzz on floor 3 goes down no problem with us inflicting heavy magical damage in one turn. Now, as for the Envious Giant fight. Whoo boy! Most attempts against him failed with us getting hit by a Megidolion. Most hits end up on Naoto since she has less agility than she did before. But even with a persona with 99 agility, with Ollie Dance and an agility buff, it's still sadly possible for you to get hit. When I'm finally able to get an attempt where everyone can act, I debilitate with you so we can inflict more damage and have a higher chance of dodging. I use Ice Break with Teddy, Mind Charge with Naoto, and Fire Break with Yukiko. Sadly, even though Rise has a chance of getting rid of ailments, she didn't do it when you got inflicted, causing him to hit his own girlfriend. Or one of his girlfriends, but I wanted to see just how much damage we were inflicting. Here's Teddy and Yukiko with a normal attack, and here's Naoto with a Mind Charge Bufadine with the Frost Shot. As you can see, there's a huge difference in the damage we give when we actually do a small amount of damage. Seeing this, I was worried I might be here forever and not get this video out in time. I even thought of the possibility of dropping this rule so I can make it possible and just get to Margaret faster, but I kept persistent for now. Sadly, my party is just so good at jumping in the explosion rather than evading it. But on attempt 9, I got close until Yukiko got hit by Envious Giant's third turn, but I wanted to see if I could finish him off third turn. So I attack, and there you go. It takes 3 turns to finish Envious Giant damageless when you're doing a small amount of damage. But that means Tentarafu has to miss more often, or we have to dodge Megidolion multiple times in a row. After 10 failed attempts, I finally got the winning strategy. First Megidolion, everyone dodges. I debilitated with you, Ice Break with Teddy, Mind Charge with Naoto, and Fire Break with Yukiko. Everyone dodges a second Megidolion, so I Mind Charge with you, Bufadine with Teddy, use a Mind Charge Bufadine with a Frost Shot with Naoto, which actually does more damage when compared to Teddy, and Mind Charge with Yukiko. Then a third Megidolion comes and surprisingly everyone dodges again. So I use a Mind Charge Ragnarok with you, Bufadine with Teddy, Bufadine with Naoto, and with one last Mind Charge Agidine from Yukiko, I managed to defeat the #1 boss fight that took the most amount of failed attempts in the original run in 11 attempts while inflicting a small amount of damage. I'll admit, I'm really surprised that I was even able to make this possible on the New Game Plus run. I'm just glad it took less than the amount of failed attempts it took in the original run. So if you want to make Envious Giant easier, if you ever plan to do this run for yourself, use the strategy that I used here, and make sure you do a great amount of damage if you don't want to do more than a dozen re-attempts. After that, we make sure to grind for some materials on floor 6 so we can complete 2 quests in the 3rd semester in advance, and now it's time to take on Adachi and Ameno-sagiri. Adachi in the original run was a joke because we were inflicting so much damage to end him in 2 turns, and his first turn is scripted to always be a heat riser, but with us inflicting a small amount of damage, we might need to get luckier. So when fighting Adachi, we debilitate with you first, Bufadine with Teddy, and Mind Charge with Naoto and Yukiko, and Adachi uses a Heat Riser. But since we debuffed his stats revert back to normal. So we debilitate again, Bufadine with Teddy, Mind Charge Bufadine with Naoto, and Mind Charge Agidine with Yukiko. In the original run, this would finish Adachi off, but we only get rid of under half of his overall HP. So when he attacks... oh no. Yeah, Adachi is now an actual challenge in this challenge run, as if Ameno-sagiri wasn't difficult enough as is. And there's no saving in between the 2 fights. We have to beat both of them in 1 attempt. Easier said than done, though Adachi will be the easier fight in comparison since he either goes for an AoE physical damage or a singular heavy elemental damage, with a few other non-almighty skills, but with our party only being able to nullify 1 affinity and lacking their 3rd awakening personas, we just gotta pray for the RNG gods to be nicer. And the annoying thing is that if we get hit in any fights, we have to go through the randomized floor 1 of Magatsu Inaba, go through the fixed floor of floor 2, just so we can reach Adachi on floor 3, and the game does not allow you to use a go home just so you can fast travel to the boss fight. So re-attempting this fight is going to be extremely annoying. Thankfully, I managed to get through Adachi on attempt 3 thanks to dodges or nullifications, and as we go into the Ameno-sagiri fight, this is the #1 fight that I was honestly certain would be impossible. Yes, I proved impossible in the original run when we were doing a great amount of damage, but when we do the smallest amount of damage, well, let's just say I don't think it's going to be possible, or at least not humanly possible. If you remember from the original run, the problem is Bewildering Fog, a move that triggers after you deal 50% of damage to his overall health, which causes Ameno to be untouchable for 2 turns as he mind charges, uses Tsukakaja, Tarakaja, then lists the Fog, followed up with a Nebula Oculus. I pretty much deemed it impossible to defeat him if Bewildering Fog triggers. And the trick in the original run to defeat him is to just have his health above 50% and to one-shot kill him with 3 mind charge characters. Now, even though I took damage here, I decided to scout the fight further, and here's what I discovered. Thankfully, getting the evade physical skill with Teddy was the right choice to increase the chances of him dodging. Although, even though I got Ameno down to pretty much 50% HP, 3 mind charge characters was not enough to defeat him before he goes for Bewildering Fog. Ameno has 8,000 HP, and even with Surd at a magic stat of 99, with Fire Boost, Fire Amp, and Attack Buff, Ameno's defense debuffed, mind charge, and going all in with Ragnarok was not enough to deal even 1,000 points of damage to his health. If this is the case, this means we have to somehow beat Ameno-sagiri after he goes through his Bewildering Fog phase. Unless I'm overlooking a way to overpower my party, there's just no way that this fight is humanly possible. Or is it? As Ameno is doing his Bewildering Fog, we could use that turn to mind charge everyone while keeping all 3 stats buff with items that we got from chests or doing quests, including buffing defense so Rise can prioritize charging our party over buffing. After Ameno goes through his Bewildering Fog phase, he lists the Fog and, much to my surprise, he actually did not attack. And his stats were neutral, likely because he buffed while he was still debuffed. So if it's possible for him not to attack after Bewildering Fog, could this fight be possible? Or is this a glitch? Because it seems after he buffed his attack, he went for Bewildering Fog next, as if he were to Bewildering Fog, then the game acts like he already was before he lifts the Fog, ending his turn. So, is this a glitch or a weird quirk based on where his HP value is? Or did I confuse the game because it expected him to be fully buffed when he's really not? I have no idea. Well, the only way to know is to get to his Bewildering Fog phase without getting hit, and try not to get hit afterwards. If I could surprise myself by beating an envious giant while doing the least amount of damage, maybe I could surprise myself again with Ameno-sagiri. But once again, we gotta deal with Adachi first before we can get another attempt against Ameno-sagiri. Thankfully, 2 back-to-back Vorpal Blade dodges kick in, so we get another fight against Ameno, only to lose to him with God's Judgment, which Yukiko and Teddy cannot dodge without a magic mirror on them to null the attack. Knowing that I will inevitably drive myself insane if I do too many attempts myself, I decide to stream this part of the run so I can share my pain. Link to that stream will be in the description below. And holy Kagetsuchi shit, the majority of the attempts in this stream ended with me getting hit by Adachi. And any attempts against Ameno were fruitless since I was barely doing any damage to his health, even with mind charge attacks. And after scouting the fight a couple more times after getting hit, I got that weird quirk to work in my favor again where he doesn't attack after Bewildering Fog. But I got hit before seeing this, so I couldn't count it. Later scouting attempts, I tried to see if certain HP thresholds were responsible for this quirk, and let's just say, I never got this quirk to work again. Ever. Never again. Ameno would always attack after lifting the fog, and I got no clue how to manipulate his behavior so he can do this again. And while we can get him to neutral agility at most, the chances of dodging are extremely low. And with every single attempt, I never got a single, not a single attempt where I got to his Bewildering Fog phase without getting hit. Mostly because when you do less damage, you're doing less than 50% of the damage than you would do if you were to do a great amount of damage. I even tried doing this fight a couple of times solo, but with us doing small damage, almighty attacks will inevitably hit me, and I pretty much got nowhere compared to if I were to do it with a full party. Theoretically, this fight is possible if the RNG gods allowed us to dodge every single time. But unless we chug sewage water from a leprechaun village or something, it really does not seem humanly possible. Just like the Shadow Yosuke fight, we definitely need to get the entire Persona community on this to see if this fight is even possible. However, I can't say that this challenge run is a complete failure if we failed one of our conditions for the New Game Plus run, especially since we proved this fight possible in the initial run after 18 attempts. And now that we have superior evasion for you and Teddy and better offensive options for Naoto, the fight against Ameno is even more possible. So while doing a small amount of damage is theoretically possible, I decided to make a separate save and fight Ameno while doing a great amount of damage so I can at least continue the run so I can get this video made. After all, the whole point of this video is to see if Margaret is possible to be damageless, not so much the rest of the run. Doing a small amount of damage is kinda just an extra step, but not the absolute priority. It's just, once I beat Ameno, any fights going forth will be done while doing a small amount of damage, so don't worry, I will change it to a small amount of damage once I'm done with Ameno. However, even after 2+ hours of attempts, I was having ridiculous bad luck. I could 2-turn Adachi no problem just like in the original run, but Ameno proved to be the biggest asshole in the world. There were a few attempts where I could have won the fight if that one idiotic character dodged, and since I was literally giving myself a sore throat midstream, which took weeks to recover from by the way, on top of growing insane, my audience watching the stream said I should pardon this fight since I did prove it possible before, and I already had close enough attempts as is. So while yes, I am cheating here, I chose to skip this fight since we already proved it possible before, and if I'm having troubles getting past this fight on the New Game Plus run, even with better equipment and have more than double the amount of failed attempts compared to the failed attempts of the original run, I think I can move on so I can at least get this video out faster. If you want authentic proof that this fight is possible, watch part 3 of the Damageless Challenge run. Otherwise, this is the #1 fight I could say that I failed to complete while doing a small amount of damage. So the best I could do is continue on while my sore throat hopefully recovers so I can record the rest of this run for the main video. If you say that this is cheating and the run is invalid, fair point, but just like the no attack and run of Persona 3 Reload, sometimes the healthiest thing to do is to stop trying if what you're doing is a bad idea. If anyone can beat Ameno-sagiri damageless while doing a small amount of damage without using mods or cheats, be sure to share it to me and I'll definitely give full acknowledgement of your success. So, with Izanami's OC of Kagutsuchi defeated with a tiny scratch on Naoto, we get rank 9 with Adachi, max out the Judgment social link, and begin the 3rd semester. On the 11th, I get Yukiko's 3rd Awakening to nullify Electric and gain the skill Burning Petals. On the 12th, I get Chie's 3rd Awakening to Null Light and gain the all-party Heat Riser skill Dragon Hustle. January 13th, I max out the Forgettable Mother social link. January 14th, I get Naoto's 3rd Awakening so she can null fire and gain the incredibly useful skill Shield of Justice. January 16th, I max out Naoki's social link. January 17th, I get Teddy's 3rd Awakening to gain him a nullification of Wind and Dark while forgetting his skill and potentially never using him for the rest of the run. January 18th, I get Chie's 5th Bike Ride skill Bufadine. January 20th, I romance Teddy. January 25th, I max out Best Girl Ai Ebihara. January 27th, I get Chie's 3rd Awakening so I don't have to look up enemy affinities, and this actually might be incredibly useful when I fight Margaret, and even though I will likely never use them for the rest of the run, I got Yosuke's 3rd Awakening on the 30th. Now, like an idiot, I accidentally missed one of Naoto's January bike trips, so I had to make sure that I dedicate February 2nd to get her Angelic Grayscale. However, the scariest part of this run is that I nearly missed out on maxing out a social link. The death social link with the old lady, who I was holding off for too many Sundays and almost did not max her out. And it didn't help that Nanako took out the 22nd of Sunday, so my heart was pounded that I'd missed one of the New Game Plus conditions, but thankfully, I did manage to max her out on the last possible day you can optionally bond with social links, and thank God. And then I used my remaining 3 days in February to take Yukiko, Naoto, and Chie to see a movie. I also maxed out the nurse, but really only did her social link for the money. So now the only social link left in the game to max is Adachi. I got every party member's third awakening persona, except for Kanji since I actually only did half of his social link, but since he's useless in this run and I already maxed him out in the initial run, there's no detriment in 100% of the persona compendium. Alright, Hollow Forest time. I go in with Yosuke, mostly for his wind damage, which actually turns out to be a really great choice, and will switch to Chie on the floors that have boss fights. Once again, we're doing a small amount of damage, so let's see if we can do the entire dungeon in one shot like the original run. I used my Shiva build while giving him a higher tier skill to electric and wind, since we might need to output more damage than usual, plus I didn't even do any of Risei's bite trips in this run, so we need to make sure that we kill every enemy before they get a turn. Thankfully, despite this dungeon's main gimmick, running out of SP is really never an issue. Gorgeous Cane on floor 4 is finished on the first attempt thanks to us just hitting weaknesses and all-out attacking anything that moves, ending with the Twin Dragons. As for Heaven's Giant, I had to make sure to use a guide to make sure I restored my SP at the right spot before the fight began, just so I stood a better chance. And let's just say, I screwed up by not using a Shield of Justice and instead mind charging with Naoto. Though, not that it mattered as nobody got hit during the first attack, but Naoto got hit by the second attack as Heaven's Giant has 2 turns per turn. Naoto, you have Angelic Grace. Please use it! I need something to boast about to Ragnar, damn it! The annoying thing about retrying this fight was having to deal with the quote-unquote random encounters which drains my SP upon completing them, even if I run away from them. So I had to restore my SP with the rank 9 Fox and take whatever route that drains the least amount of SP. Once I reach the gate where Heaven's Giant is, I need to make sure that I have a persona with both Auto Masukukaja and Auto Matarakaja equipped so we can start the fight already buffed. I debilitate, Fire Break with Chie, Shield of Justice with Naoto, and use Burning Petals which got rid of half of its HP. It uses an AoE physical attack which we all nullified, then Naoto remembers she has Angelic Grace and dodges the second attack. From here, I Ragnarok and finish Heaven's Giant with Naoto. Once we reach Marie, make sure you equip a persona with Auto Masukukaja, Auto Matarakaja, and Ollie Dance. Thankfully, Loki had all 3 of these, plus 99 agility points. Reason being is that both Marie and Kasumi-no-Okami get first turn attacking with an almighty attack, and as long as we dodge both attacks, the rest of the fight should be a breeze. Marie will hit 2 random party members and will actually never attack you. And sadly, Chie forgot that lightning is bad for you, so yeah, the RNG gods are not on my side for this New Game Plus run. Sadly, attempts 2 and 3 were a bust, but I did dodge attempt 4. Thankfully, the entire Marie fight is a breeze as long as you use Shield of Justice, and you should only have to use it once. When she goes for a Shell of Denial, do not attack her and instead restore everyone's SP to full, and make sure that you equips the persona with the 3 crucial skills before the fight ends. Kasumi then attacks and... Damn it, Yukiko! Yeah, I don't know if I had unprotected anal sex with a leprechaun that day I streamed the Hollow Force in the original run, but we have to hope that everyone dodges in both fights. After 3 more failed attempts, I dodged Marie attempt 8, but Yukiko decides to get hit against Kasumi. Great, Yukiko, I swear to God, I am gonna beat you like a football player's... No, wait, sorry, can't say that nowadays, not PC enough. 10th attempt, Naoto gets hit by Kasumi. And 12th attempt, Yu gets hit despite his agility buffed and having Ollie Dance and 99 agility. Jesus Christ, how is it that we're taking more attempts here than with Envious Giant when I have beaten Marie first try in the initial run? Like, how? And during attempt 30, yes, 30 attempts when I got to Kasumi, everyone but you got themselves hit, and I was so frustrated, I took out my frustration on my team by having them kill themselves to death, and while Risei did her best to try to save them, they all went down. Never thought I'd be so satisfied to see my own fucking friends die. After 30 failed attempts, I knew I had to stream this fight, and it would have been great if I had streamer's luck and be in her first try, but no. I kept getting hit, and it was proven fruitless. Switching out Chie with Yosuke is a bad idea since Chie is 2 agility points better than Yosuke. I can't replace Naoto because I need Shield of Justice, and I can't replace Yukiko because she's the one doing the most damage. This went on and on and on, bypassing the total number of hits it took us to beat Magatsu Inaba damageless in the initial run, and we already reached the 60s. However, I grew up a 90s Nintendo kid, so guess which number was my successful attempt? Okay, yay, we got a dodge, hooray! And then we're gonna get hit during the Kasumi attempt, okay? I've officially lost hope, guys. I've officially lost hope to really consider any chances of hope. Oh my god! 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 Yes! Oh my god! They all dodged! They all dodged! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! Oh my god! Oh shit! Oh fuck me! Fuck me! I just broke a hole in my wall out of excitement. Shit! Oh fuck! Oh no! Oh shit, I literally just broke a hole in my wall out of excitement. Oh fuck. Yeah, there you go. I broke a hole in the fucking wall, as you guys can see here. I was literally so excited, I jumped on my bed, rolled on the side, and my buttocks just hit the part of the wall, and I broke a part of the wall. God damn it. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? I broke a freaking hole in the wall just because I was like so freaking excited. God damn. Well, it took a hole in my wall, but you know what? We finally beat her. We finally beat Izanami. Or not Izanami. I mean, we beat in a form of Izanami, but there we go. We did it. Well, there you go. It required accidentally sacrificing my wall, but it took 64 attempts to beat Marie damageless, a fight that took me first try in the initial run. So yeah, remember when I said in the original run that I highly recommend trying Hollow Forest damageless? I take that statement back now. I recommend the dungeon itself damageless, but I had no idea just how much luck I had when beating both Marie and Kunino-sagiri damageless first try. I guess I assumed that both fights had low hit rates and assumed that it was pretty easy, but at least I got it on stream and proved the fight possible while doing the least amount of damage. And now, all I can say is, no good riddance to this fight, I can move on. I date Best Girl I for Valentine's Day and break the heart of my other girlfriends, but hey, they freaking deserve it for refusing to dodge multiple times against Marie. We then say our final goodbyes to our maxed out social links and say no to going home. Now, I have already gone on a rant on why I think hiding the true ending route in an entire dungeon behind an arbitrary no option is bad game design in both the initial run and my revival needs video, but I seem to be the only one who favors good game design, so I will pass up on my rant for now. We max out our final social link with a Dachi, allowing us to fuse every ultimate persona. Once we get the Orbicite from Igor, re-enter the Velvet Room. You should get a cutscene with Margaret, and as long as you are playing on New Game Plus, have beaten all 6 optional boss fights, and maxed out her social link, Margaret will tell you to meet her at Heaven's End. Now, it's extremely important to know that you can visit the Velvet Room after talking to Izanami before jumping into the TV world. What you have to do, because if you jump into the TV world, then visit the Velvet Room afterwards, you will be unable to unlock Margaret's optional boss fight. I am not joking. I remember having to reload a backup save and repeating the entirety of January again and the Hall of Forest again just so I could do our optional boss fight for the first time because of this. Seriously, what is it with Atlas and arbitrary bad game design? Well, regardless, as long as you visit Margaret after obtaining the Orbicite, but before you blue skidoo into the TV world, you will have access to the New Game Plus exclusive boss fight with her. We go through the entire Heaven dungeon for the third time because, again, Atlas loves bad game design for some reason. Go home at the top floor and start completing most of everything else. First, we fuse our remaining personas, from Magatsu Izanagi to Izanagi-no-Okami. And with that, we have successfully completed one of our New Game Plus goals of 100%ing the Persona Compendium in only 2 playthroughs. Do note that the game will consider the compendium complete without you having to fuse Izanagi-no-Okami, as Izanagi-no-Okami can't be registered or bought from the compendium. As for Yamatsu Harasaka, I went into the Neo Minotaur fight with you only since the Minotaur only attacks with physical attacks. Pretty much impossible to lose if you have a repel physical persona, so an easy fight to just rush to death. The sleeping table is hardly an issue, but is still a threat unprepared. The main attacks are Fire, Light, Almighty, and it will cast Fear on you where Ghastly Wail will instantly kill you. Since Naoto is able to nullify Fire and Light, I go in with her and you only. You wears the Book of the Void to null the fear if Sleeping Table inflicts fear first, and Naoto uses the Chakra Rain so Shield of Justice only costs 80 SP instead of 160 SP. Thankfully, the Sleeping Table only gets 1 turn per turn, so I just use Shield of Justice with Naoto every turn, and go between Mind Charging or Ragnarocking with you. Thankfully, we can finish the fight without needing to restore SP. Next, we have to fight the Reaper, who is without a doubt the most annoying Persona Reaper to spawn. Now, death took me 2 attempts while we were inflicting a great amount of damage. When small, we definitely need to get luckier. For a change in strategy, we go with Naoto's Algernon for the 5 stat increases since we want her to play more defensively, and she'll use the Chakra Rain so Shield of Justice only costs 80 SP. And while we're sticking with our usual Trumpeter and Cert builds, we start the battle with a random persona who has Auto Matarakaja, Auto Masokukaja, and Auto Marakukaja. Now, the reason why we need an automatic attack and agility buff is obvious, but why defense? Isn't defense useless in a damageless run? In theory, yes. However, having our defense buff will help manipulate Risei's AI into choosing how she should buff our team. She'll likely buff our defense if it's neutral, so if everyone's defense is already buffed, she can prioritize on buffs that are actually useful, and if we have all 3 buffs on us, she will only charge and focus the entire party, which is what we need for the best damage. Now sure, there's no way of knowing when she'll apply a focus on us. I mean, I could mind charge with Yukiko, only to have Risei mind charge everyone anyway. But having a mind charge on everyone is useful regardless. So the Reaper has 2 turns per turn, so depending on what move he uses, we could get hit turn 2. And because he gets 2 turns per turn, any debuffs on him will progress like 2 turns have passed, so it's ideal to debuff him the first 2 turns with you. Yu's main job is to debuff with Debilitate, while attacking with Ragnarok on occasion after being mind charged. Yukiko is all about mind charging and using Burning Petals. Naoto is primarily only used for Shield of Justice, while maybe throwing an attack or 2 if the shield effect is still up on everyone. And Chie will use Dragon Hustle first turn and keep our party buffed while she attacks with Bufadine or restores SP on herself or Naoto. The first attempt, I sadly get hit halfway through his HP bar. The second attempt, thankfully the Reaper was wasting a lot of his turns applying elemental breaks, which doesn't get rid of Naoto's shield. And we survive 2 insta-kill attacks by Risei's block, or the party either nullifying the affinity or having a scapegoat vegetable to take the hit for us, which we were able to buy from the Junes worker during the winter break. Thankfully, with the right RNG and good strategy, I managed to beat the Reaper damageless second try while doing a small amount of damage. I do sadly waste 1 full SP restorative item near the end on Naoto, so hopefully we don't run out of SP restorative items when fighting Margaret. So, there you go. ignoring the Shadow Yosuke fight and the fact that we could insanely get past Ameno-sagiri while doing a small amount of damage, the only 2 boss fights left in the game to prove is Izanami, who we already proved possible in the initial run while doing a great amount of damage. But the reason why this video exists in the first place is because we have yet to see if the New Game Plus exclusive super boss against Margaret herself is possible to be damageless. The moment you guys have all been waiting for. Beating her damageless will take priority over the fact that we beat her while doing a small amount of damage, but if we can beat her damageless as well as doing a small amount of damage, I want to be able to prove both in one stone. Once again, I will be going into the fight with a similar setup to the Reaper, starting with a persona that has all 3 auto skills, making sure I have all 4 personas that can do severe elemental damage, and Trumpeter. And for those who are wondering if there's any in-game rules for Margaret, thankfully, unlike Elizabeth, who punishes you for nullifying attacks, or Lavenza, who requires you to attack her with technical and critical damage at certain phases of her fight, the only rule for Margaret is to not equip one particular item that nullifies all affinities, as she'll just nuke you with 9,999 almighty attacks. So, as long as we never equip this item, we're golden. And now, the moment of truth. Can you beat Persona 4 Golden while beating the super boss Margaret while doing a small amount of damage while also never taking damage? Let's find out and seek that truth. So for starters, since I'm going into the fight with a persona I'm not using, but only have equipped to give me the 3 auto skills, I replaced the 2 auto skills I always had on Cert and Trumpeter with Spellmaster, the Evade Elect skill with Cert, and Invigorate 3 with Trumpeter. Now, while Margaret is obviously dangerous, she thankfully has a consistent pattern with what attacks she will go with. While she's between 100 to 85% HP, she will just use her basic attack, but since she acts 2 turns per turn, there is the risk of us getting hit the second turn. And just like the Reaper, Debilitate will go down 2 turns, meaning we need to debilitate at least twice with you and keep her debuffed the best we can. Once she reaches past 85% HP, she will have 6 unique turns. Turn 1, she goes for Ragnarok, which thankfully tries to kill Chie. Wait, why did I say thankfully? I meant to say which mainly tries to kill Chie. Okay, I'm totally leaving that in just for a blooper. Turn 2, she goes for Ice on Yukiko. Turn 3, she goes for an AoE Lightning. And turn 4, she goes for AoE Wind. Since none of the girls nullify wind attacks, we just gotta hope that they all dodge, or we can try to protect them with a mirror shield. More on the strategy later. Turn 5, she mind charges, and turn 6, she hits us with a Megidolion, which Shield of Justice thankfully nulls. And Margaret repeats this cycle with 2 deviations. The first is that if we last 25 turns, she will try to nuke us with a 9,999 damaging Megidolion. But if we have Shield of Justice on us, we should be safe. And if we bypass 50% of our HP, she will use a Morning Star on us and then use Dio Rahan once. After that, we have to get rid of 50% of her HP again, and during the last third of the fight, instead of Mind Charging and casting Megidolion on turns 5 and 6, she uses Power Charge and Hustle Toby. Now, during the first attempt, I actually got pretty far into the first third of the fight, but the big worry was her 3rd and 4th turn where she goes for AoE damage. While Shield of Justice can null the electric damage, none of the girls nullify wind damage, and while I managed to get all the girls to evade that twice, the 3rd time, Chie got hit. And after that first attempt, I have come to 2 conclusions. 1, you need a lot of SP restorative items in order to keep Shield of Justice and Dragon Hustle active for the whole fight. So hopefully you've been conserving those items and been completing a quest or 2 that you got from them. We can, of course, get more from Golden Chest if we want to. The second realization is that she was only going for a singular fire and ice attacks on Chie first, then Yukiko. So as long as Shield of Justice is active on both of them, I don't have to use a Mirror Shield. But after those turns, I have to put a Mirror Shield on all 3 girls and Shield of Justice so both the electric and wind attacks can be nulled and repelled. This sadly means I'm allowing Margaret to restore HP back as her affinities are constantly changing, but it's more of a safer strategy than relying on dodging. Now, whatever persona she uses last will determine what she drains, nulls, or resists. And while seeing what persona she uses last will let you know what to use and what not to use, Risei's complete analysis will let us know what to use and what not to use. So, while more of a convenience perk, it actually helps with making choosing skills less stressful. Also, while I was scouting the fight further on my first attempt, I noticed that it's possible to crit Margaret. So yeah, Risei's bike trips could have come in handy, but I didn't do any of those, so I'm relying on magic. And besides, magic damage in this kind of run is more ideal. You will prioritize debuffing and charging for a Ragnarok. Chie prioritizes keeping our party buffed with Dragon Hustle so Risei can focus on mind charging our party, while Chie is also the one using SP restorative items when we really need it. And on occasion, I might have her attack with Bufadine. Naoto is 100% Shield of Justice and nothing else, so I equipped the Algernon so she has the extra stats instead of the Frost Shot, as she pretty much does not attack the entire fight. And Yukiko is doing nothing but mind charging and using burning petals. Maybe using an item to restore SP if Margaret finishes her 6th turn and resists fire damage. So knowing how the fight goes, I do a second attempt. Though first, I changed Cert's Evade Elect skill to Invigorate 3, as I won't really need to cover Cert's weakness if Shield of Justice protects you from electric attacks. The second attempt, I tried to rely on Tetrakarn items to repel the basic attacks during the first bit of her fight, but as I found out, she can actually attack the same party member twice, so it's ideal to use Shield of Justice. While I could use both Shield of Justice and a physical mirror, it's more ideal just attacking with magical damage. Attempt 3, I went between Shield of Justice and Tetrakarn items. However, this caused her to use Hustle Toby way earlier than usual, ending with casting Ragnarok. This completely goes off the pattern I set for myself, and while I went at it, I just didn't have the best strategy for fighting her this way at the time, so I reset it even though I didn't even take any damage. Attempt 4, after she goes for Fire and Ice, I use Shield of Justice, put Magic Mirrors on the girls, and what happened instead is that she used Lightning and then used her basic attack, which means she's out of order again. However, I realized that this actually might be a blessing in disguise, because now Lightning and Wind attacks will be separate. So the only main concern is that after she mind charges, I have to put a Shield of Justice to null the Megidolion and a Mirror Shield on Chie to protect her from Ragnarok, which means there's 2 turns where I can't attack her with fire. Thankfully, 1 Shield of Justice is all I need to get past the fire and electric attacks, as the shield on Yukiko will null the ice, and since Yukiko naturally nullifies electric upon her 3rd awakening, I am safe from both the ice and electric attacks. Now, this does mean I can only really attack after she uses her electric move, though Chie can still use Bufadine after she uses Ragnarok. So I kept with the strategy and managed to null her Morning Star and get to her scripted deal raw hand skill after 22.5 minutes of fighting. This means we are 1/3 of the way through the fight, although because she practically resets the fight, she's back to using her basic attacks. And because she has a chance of attacking the same party member twice, Chie sadly did not evade or trigger her high counter and got hit. So yeah, Margaret's most threatening move is actually her first phase doing the basic attacks. So not only do we need to evade or null her basic attacks, but we gotta do it twice at the start of the fight and after she fully heals herself. And the worst part is that she is equipped with a persona that resists all affinities. So survival and getting her health down to 85% will be harder. Honestly, once I get past her basic attacks, her entire fight should be possible as long as I have enough SP to carry us through. Since running out of SP items is a potential worry, I take this time to try to get some soul foods and somas from golden chests. Unfortunately, there's like 39 possible items that you can get from golden chests, so yeah, time to surrender myself to a leprechaun cult and hope I can still walk when they are done with me. Sadly, it seems like God has already nuked the leprechauns because even after over 30 keys and crack wheats, I got no somas. I only got 1 soul food, which restores 1 ally's SP to full, and the 3rd best SP recovery I was able to get is chewing souls, both from golden chests and a reserve party member that I happened to find on the floor of a dungeon. Because of this, I make sure to get all the items from them, giving the boys a temporary moment to shine as I got at least 2 Chewin Souls and Yukiko's lunch, which is actually a full SP recovery item that sadly cannot be used during battle. Now, while yes, I could farm for more chest keys if I happen to get temperance cards during shovel time, but you know what, I'm gonna assume that Somas and golden chests are super rare to get and just see if I can beat Margaret with what I have. Attempt 5, she basic attacks Naoto twice, causing a reset. Attempt 6, I got past her scripted deal raw hand skill, and after 22.5 minutes into the fight, she basically attacks Yukiko twice, causing another reset. Since it takes 22 minutes to get to the second third of the fight, I suspect that this fight would take an hour and 10 minutes long for a successful attempt. And while recording more attempts on my own would be more ideal for better video quality, I decided to stream this for my 7th attempt. So going in, I use only Shield of Justice to defend myself and hope she either basic attacks 2 different party members or someone evades if attacked twice. Thankfully, she attacks 2 different party members before she eventually goes for her fire and ice attacks. And knowing that her next 2 attacks will be in AoE electric and wind damage, I manipulate her AI by putting a magic shield on Chie and Naoto, Shield of Justice with Naoto, and instead of a magic shield, I put a physical shield on Yukiko. And as predicted, she uses Hustle Toby, which we all null or repel, and the AoE electric, which thankfully you dodge as he had Cert equipped at the time who doesn't null electric. Now, we want her to use her turns out of order, so it's more ideal using 1 magic mirror on Chie every Ragnarok, instead of 3 magic mirrors on all 3 girls while having Margaret drain all 3 of those wind attacks. So, for the most part, we only attack her after she uses her electric damage, going all Ragnarok and burning petals on her. When she mind charges, she will nullify every affinity on this turn, so we have to make sure we Shield of Justice and put a magic mirror on Chie. After Ragnarok, our fire users cannot attack, but we can still mind charge, buff, or recover SP, so while our window of attacking is limited, we have a safe and consistent strategy of blocking, nullifying, or repelling every single attack, as long as we don't run out of magic mirrors and SP recovery items. So, hopefully you've been saving up on those items and harvesting lots of barrier corn throughout your playthrough. 25 minutes into the fight, she says she's invigorated, which means she's going to use a Morning Star and Dia Raw Hand. And now, we gotta avoid taking damage from her basic attacks while she resists all damage. So, what I do is equip Trumpeter, use a physical shield on the girls except for you, and Shield of Justice with Naoto. Thankfully, she doesn't go out of order and just basic attacks. If she basic attacks 2 different party members, our Shield of Justice is still active, giving Naoto a turn to do anything other than Shield of Justice. So I make sure the girls have a physical shield again and use Fire Break with Yukiko so I can hopefully get some Mind Charge burning petals in. Bear in mind, elemental break skills work like buffs and debuffs, so 2 turns on it will pass every time Margaret acts. If Margaret attacks the same party member twice, the first will repel thanks to the Tetracord, and the second will null thanks to Shield of Justice, which means we have to use Shield of Justice that turn. After getting rid of 85% of her health, she uses Hustle Toby, which the girls repel, and then an AoE wind attack which we all null thanks to Shield of Justice. Next turn, she mind charges and uses Megadoleon, which was to be expected, so I just used Shield of Justice this turn and I should be safe. Or so I thought. I don't know why, but she attacks with Megadoleon again, though maybe it's because it's the 25th turn or something. I mean, that's all I can think of. And then she Ragnaroks Chie. Oh, yes! Yes, a clutch evade! Oh, thank you, Chie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Since her turn order is still out of order, we go with the same strategy for the entire fight. Once we get rid of 50% of her health, she will still go for the same elemental order, but this time she uses Power Charge and Hustle Toby instead, though this really doesn't change our strategy. In fact, there's a 20% chance that Chie will high counter Hustle Toby, though sadly this doesn't do any damage. So, with careful uses of Dragon Hustle, magic mirrors on Chie to repel Ragnarok, manipulating Rise to always mind charge us so we can hit her with a lot of damage, and Naoto using Shield of Justice every single turn. This is going to be close. Oh my god, yes, it's going to be close. Let's see. Is this going to be enough to defeat her? Let's do it. Come on. Come on, come on. Oh my god, we did it! We did it! We did it, guys! We beated Margaret damageless. Well, there you go. We did it. It took us an hour and 10 minutes of fighting, but we can now clarify the truth. It is possible to beat Margaret without taking damage, even when doing a small amount of damage. Our only rewards is post-Persona 3 exposition, voice acting that has recordings on clearly separate days, and a pointless bookmark. So, despite no real award, we proved the super boss of Persona 4 Gold impossible to beat without getting hit. And most of you thought that Margaret would be straight up impossible. If you want to see the successful attempt from beginning to end, the link to that stream will be in the description below. And now, the only thing left to prove is Izanami while doing a small amount of damage, so let's go for it. So, Izanami's first form is impossible to lose against as long as you cast Shield of Justice every turn. She will only have one turn per turn, so once you get rid of her health bar, you have to go through 3 turns without being able to do damage to her, and after use turn on the 4th turn, you use the Orb of Sight to fight her in her true form. However, while she becomes impervious to attacks, use this opportunity to use items to buff everyone. As long as you have all 3 stats buffed, Rise should be able to use her turn to charge everyone. Once on the 3rd turn, use Dragon Hustle with Chie so we have at least 5 or 6 turns with our stats fully buffed, and use a Soma to fully recover SP with Yukiko, who acts last. Once we proceed into Izanami's true form, the fight should be somewhat easier than the Reaper, but it's still possible to get hit since she has 2 turns per turn. So keep Shield of Justice active, and use this opportunity to throw Mind Charge attacks at Izanami, and use Chie to keep buffs up and you to keep Izanami debuffed. Thankfully, nobody got inflicted by ailments, and after a Garudine on Yukiko, she goes for Fury of Yasugami, which Yukiko thankfully dodged. I then went all out attacking with everyone, including Naoto, and completely finished Izanami's HP bar on the first try, and from here, the rest of the fight is scripted. We succumb to the 1,000 curses and get lectured by our maxed out social links, awaken to Izanagi-no-Okami for technically the 3rd time, take 4 straight attacks in a row, which is 100% scripted, so I don't want to see cranky comments complaining that this counts. And with that, we can shove the truth in Izanami's face, proving that we can beat her damageless even when doing a small amount of damage. And there you go, guys. 2 full playthroughs, getting the true golden ending of Persona 4 Golden without taking damage. The results? We proved it possible to 100% the Persona compendium in 2 playthroughs, even when utilizing bike trips and movie theater trips. We defeated Margaret damageless while also doing the least amount of damage. However, the condition to prove every single fight possible while doing a small amount of damage, the only fight outside of Shadow Yosuke I was unable to prove is Ameno-sagiri. In theory, Ameno-sagiri is definitely possible, but he is definitely without a doubt the true hardest boss fight to defeat in a damageless run, even when you do a great amount of damage. But we did prove impossible before, and while I'm sure someone in the future will probably prove impossible while doing the least amount of damage, I can officially end this encore of the run completely happy. It honestly felt great doing this challenge run again, and while I still do recommend trying out this run for yourself, I do advise playing while doing a great amount of damage, and fair warning that Ameno-sagiri and even Marie, as I found out, are at the mercy of you relying on RNG gods. I mean, if Margaret is easier than both of those fights, then you know a damageless run is surprisingly a valid build. Definitely not the best way to experience this game, but one that I recommend trying at least once. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this challenge run. Special thanks to both the Egg Paladin and Ragnar Alvar Gaming for having a cameo in this video. Be sure to check them out and give them a subscription. And a huge shout out to my channel members, including Zero D Nova and Thank You Ronald. Also, be sure to check out my other videos. Any views or long minutes of watch time definitely helps this channel out. If you want to see challenge runs done on other Persona games, I have 4 different ones. And if you want something that is not Persona, I did one on Sonic Adventure 2 without collecting Reigns, Majora's Mask without collecting rupees or item drops, and Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne without using skills. Check them all out. And if you haven't got enough of a challenge run where I beat a game without taking damage, don't worry, as another one will be coming soon on a very familiar game to you SMT fans. Stay tuned for that, and be sure to play the game so you're spoiler free when that video eventually gets released. And be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and ding the bell for more Nitsa-Gamer content. Tell me how much I suck and how I can improve. And if you excuse me, I gotta beg my wall for forgiveness. No, I wasn't hitting on you, I just accidentally hit you. Big difference.